What if the most iconic witch in movie history was never evil at all, but the twisted result of one author's darkest beliefs, and a culture that needed a green-faced monster to hold its fears? You know the image, the hooked nose, the pointed hat, the cackle cutting through a stormy sky. I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog too. For generations, the Wicked Witch of the West has been the blueprint for female evil in pop culture, the nightmare hiding inside a technicolor childhood. And yet, in Wicked, and now in Wicked, for good, that same witch steps forward and sings her own defense. Suddenly, she is not a cartoon monster. She is a girl with green skin, a sharp mind, and a conscience too alive for the world she is stuck in. Somewhere between the original Wizard of Oz and today, the villain started telling her side of the story. To understand why, you have to go back to the man who created Oz, and the country that taught him what to be afraid of. When L. Frank Baum published The Wonderful Wizard of Oz in 1900, America was cracking under economic and political pressure. Farmers were drowning in debt, populist movements were raging, and the government clung to the gold standard. On the surface, Oz looks harmless, a girl from Kansas, a tornado, a magical land. But for decades, readers have pointed out how much it can feel like a political cartoon in disguise. Dorothy follows a yellow brick road, gold, while wearing silver shoes in the original book. The Emerald City glows green because everyone literally sees it through tinted lenses. And the wizard? Just a small man behind a curtain, projecting power he doesn't truly have. In that reading, Oz isn't a neutral fairy tale. It's a story about money, illusion, and how easily people can be led. But the truly disturbing part isn't the allegory, it's the man behind it. Before Oz became a children's classic, Baum ran a newspaper in South Dakota, and in 1890, after the massacre at Wounded Knee, he published editorials arguing that the safety of white settlers required the total destruction of native peoples. Not a metaphor, not a fairy tale. In print, he argued for annihilation. Let that sit for a second. The same name stamped on countless childhood books also wrote words soaked in racial terror and expansionist fantasy. People can argue over his tone or intent, but the fact remains, he put those ideas on paper. And once you know that, Oz starts to look different. It's a land split into neat regions, Munchkins in the east, Winkies in the west, Quadlings in the south. Winged monkeys, once free, later bound by a magical tool that forces obedience. Creatures treated as useful, dangerous, or disposable, rarely as fully real. And the witches? The wicked witches of the East and West aren't just random evil women twirling moustaches. They are rulers of territories, full of subjects. One is killed instantly, so Dorothy can take her shoes. The other is hunted down for daring to resist. Either way, they are erased so someone else's idea of order can return. Then came 1939. This is where the stereotype hardens into a weapon. MGM turns Baum's book into The Wizard of Oz, and that film imprints itself onto the 20th century. On screen, the Wicked Witch of the West becomes mythic. Her skin turns an unnatural green. Her costume becomes pure black. Her voice becomes a shriek that teaches an entire generation what evil woman is supposed to sound like. Margaret Hamilton played her so well that some children reportedly ran screaming from theatres. And the image sticks. For decades, she becomes the default bad woman in Western pop culture. Ambitious, angry, powerful, and therefore doomed. Halloween masks, cartoons, classroom jokes. A shortcut to fear. And almost nobody asks the obvious question. Why is she so angry? At the end of the 20th century, something shifts. Gregory Maguire publishes Wicked and reimagines the story from the witch's point of view. Suddenly, the Wicked Witch has a name. Elphaba. She is born green in a world that treats difference like a disease. She grows up watching power rewrite reality. She sees the wizard's regime scapegoat the vulnerable, censor the inconvenient, and control the story people are allowed to believe. And when the musical hits Broadway, audiences don't cry when the witch melts. They cry when she flies. Because Defying Gravity isn't a villain song. It is the sound of someone realizing the system will never reward her for being quiet, polite, and grateful. In Wicked, Elphaba isn't a cackling stereotype. She is an activist. She refuses to smile for a corrupt ruler who turns fear into theatre. She refuses to watch entire groups lose their voices and pretend it is normal. And what does the system do with a woman like that? It does not debate her, it brands her. Wicked, over and over, until the label becomes the only thing anyone can see. In Wicked, for good, that idea gets pushed even further in how the story is framed. Oz feels less like a magical dream and more like a glittering machine. One that watches, spins, and publishes narratives faster than truth can keep up. Elphaba's resistance is clipped into rumours. Her motives are edited into threats. She doesn't change. The story around her does. If you're in your 20s, 30s, or 40s, that probably feels familiar. Maybe you've watched a news cycle flatten something complicated into a 2-word headline. Maybe you've seen a co-worker or a public figure turned into a caricature because it was easier than admitting the system failed. Maybe you've been called difficult, too much, dramatic, simply for pointing at something broken and refusing to shut up. That's Elphaba's crime, not sorcery, not flying monkeys. She sees what's happening to the powerless and won't pretend it's fine. Inside the universe of Oz, the Wizard of Oz is propaganda. It is the version the winners tell. The cute little farm girl, the friendly wizard, and the wicked witch who had to be destroyed. Wicked pulls back the curtain and shows the messy draft underneath. Manufactured enemies, curated fear, and a woman whose real sin was refusing to play along. For fans who grew up watching Judy Garland on TV and are now streaming Wicked with their own kids, the effect is dizzying. The movie that defined your childhood turns out to be just one angle, one camera, one unreliable narrator. The villain you were taught to fear becomes the only one asking the questions you wish somebody had asked sooner. And that is the dark truth behind the Wicked Witch. She is not just a character, she is a test. Do you believe the man behind the curtain with the microphone and the machine, or the woman everyone keeps calling dangerous, irrational, and untrustworthy? Baum took the anxieties of his age about money, power, civilization, and the people deemed expendable, and translated them into a fantasy where uncomfortable truths could be smoothed over with magic. Hollywood painted that fantasy in bright colours and gave the witch a face so terrifying children would not dare identify with her. Wicked hands the microphone back and lets the monster speak. It reminds us that every wicked witch in history starts as a person in the wrong version of the story. Too loud, too different, too unwilling to pretend the yellow brick road is leading somewhere better. So the next time you see that green face on a movie poster, a Halloween costume, or a piece of fan art, pause for a moment. Look past the hat and the cackle. Ask yourself who needed her to be wicked, because the Wicked Witch may never have been a witch at all, just a woman who refused to be good on someone else's terms and got trapped for a century in the version of the story that won. If this changed the way you see the Wicked Witch, subscribe to Childhood Shadows for more dark origins hiding inside the stories we grew up with. Comment the next character you want me to uncover, because the villain is almost never the whole truth.